Greetings and aloha, what's going on? It's Mike from LiveMyAssOff.com. I'm here at the Big Buddha Haad Rin, which basically means that I'm at Haad Rin Pier. And I'm down here at Haad Rin, which most of you, if you'll know Koh Phangan, you'll know the full moon parties. That's sort of what it's synonymous with. And so I'm sort of down in that village where all of those people would stay and hang out and that sort of thing. I'll inject a quick video that I shot of the beach that's down there. The sand is spectacular. It's like the powdery white sand of Boracay. It's just totally gorgeous, and so that's where they have the full moon parties. And anyway, so I just cruised down here, and I was just sort of driving around. The road is under massive construction in like the little town that's a little bit further up from the beach, and so they're taking this opportunity to basically, you know, rip out the old road and put in a new shiny concrete one, which is awesome. I mean, the next time the majority of the people come back here, it's going to be super easy to get down here. But what I wanted to do is I have a little, I have my flexible tripod thingy here. And so I just mounted that on the front of the bike. And so I'm going to just throw that on there. And obviously it's going to vibrate like crazy. And there's really no sort of there's no stabilization in this camera. It's just simply it's like a $100 Huawei Honor 7A, and I just kind of huck it into the motorbike, and it travels with me. And I wasn't planning on doing a video from down here, but I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll come down and I'll just check it out. And then, as is the case many times, actually, I thought, well, you know what, this might be interesting to people, so I thought I would share it with you. So anyway, I'm going to strap it to the front of the bike. It's going to be vibrating, so I know that will bother many of you. It would bother me too. But again, I completely forgot to travel with my gimbal this time, which is crazy. But nonetheless, this is sort of the typical scenario here. You know, they're doing work on that sort of thing where they normally wouldn't necessarily be able to, but you know, other than that, it's pretty vacant. The ferries that go back and forth, they're happening, you know, 5-6 times a day. Sorry, the ferries that are going like from Phangan over to Samui, those are happening. I think there's like 5 or 6 a day. There's Lompraya, which is sort of the better, more expensive one, certainly. And then Raja Ferry, that's, you know, kind of like the older boats, older ferries. And anyway, so this is sort of, you know, common of what you'll see. But anyway, so I'm going to strap this on the bike. We're going to just cruise through. I may or may not do some commentary. All right, strap in, and away we go. Really, the main thing I wanted to show you is like what's open and what's basically not open, and even the stuff that's open, it's empty, right? There's a 7-Eleven up here on the right, which actually it's closed. However, it's also empty, so I don't think that they kind of like ever deployed it, because I can't believe that they did put, the shelves are empty. So now I came from there, so I'm gonna go down here because I've never been down here before. This is pretty common. I drive down these little roads and then I end up on a dirt road. But if this is actually probably going to be a video that's likely more educational for people that have already been here. This is really common. You'll get like shops on the bottom and then like full hotels will be like right above it. Like all the way along. And I wonder what this looks like at night. I'm assuming that, well, maybe the street lights come on. There are street lights. I know in Pattaya the interesting thing is like some of the soys didn't have street lights because of course the hotels that are on those main soys are so big that they have a whole lot of lighting, but those are off now. And I tell you what, we'll go straight so I can kind of give you guys an idea of the puffy white sand on the beach. Actually not, it's more like flowery, not puffy white sand. But let me do this. I'll just park here real quick and take a quick walk down. I gotta tell you, I really like keyless ignition on these bikes, man. It is super convenient. And again, you know, my lens is hardly perfect, right? But and that's pretty common. They do that at my resort every day. They rake all the leaves. And so, oh, my crap! I'm sure they're gonna make fun of me and my accent now. But anyway, the sand is just, I mean, it's really gorgeous, you know? And what's sort of more common really is to take some of these longtail boats and take those out, like, you know, around the island, to other islands, and then speedboats primarily from here over to Samui. I'm a ferry guy. I really prefer that, and I think I'm going to do that actually next Thursday and check out So here I am, but this is Phoenix Bar. And again, I don't know, you know, who of watching this has been here before, but and I don't know whether this is like a popular street. As I was driving here, it seemed as though one of the more popular streets. Sorry, here we go. Let me actually. There we go. It seems as though one of the more popular streets was sort of the main street. It's what basically is, it sort of starts out as Koh Phangan walking street, right? Or Thong Sala walking street, right? And it's about, I don't know, a kilometer away. It's like fairly close to the water. It's about a kilometer away from Thong Sala night market, if you're familiar with Koh Phangan in that sense. Haad Rin Resort and Restaurant is what's right there. It's probably quite popular. Let me cruise down here. So this is normally a night market, apparently, which was the sign above the street. But again, of course, you know, even during a busy time, like during the day, obviously the night market isn't going to be too open. But, you know, this gives you sort of an idea of the level of closure. And you know what's cool, actually, is that I've seen a whole bunch of, that's actually like the fifth one I've seen back there. It was, you know what, so this whole chicken burger thing, I've had like a couple of chicken burgers. It seems like that's like a lot more popular than hamburgers. And anyway, so I've noticed that there's a bunch of secondhand clothing stores. And I dig those, you know, provided that, of course, they're filled with clothes that are not, you know, very old, which is, of course, my experience when I would be, that's Wild and Wandering, Phangan Wild and Wandering. Many of the, so what's commonly open? Restaurants, as you might guess, but also the places that, like laundromats, as well as 24-hour laundromats, which is simply, you know, machines that are available. And There's someone behind me, so I'll actually just let them go. So as an example, like right there, right? Like, so I've seen a ton of these. And what's funny is, you know, you can always tell when you're in a tourist area, right? Usually based on like the people that are here, right? Well, there's no people here. So how can I tell that I'm in a tourist area when I'm here now? The prices of everything is like 50 to 200% more. So 1 kilo of laundry to get that done normally, like at a normal rate, is about 30 kilos, like almost everywhere else on the island. And here it's 50. And, okay, so I came down here, and I pretty much know where I'm at, and so I'm essentially heading back now. The other thing that was crazy is I saw a radio station. I noticed the tower, FM radio station, 93.25. And so actually I came from down there to the right, I think. So, you know, I mean, there's some pretty nice places here. I mean, yes, there's a lot of hostels and there's a lot of 2- and 3-star hotels, maybe a 4. Now, again, this is sort of this is the kind of place that, you know, they talk about Phuket, you know, being, you know, it's gonna die, right? Because there's just like not enough tourists, which is really horrible. Because like 80, whatever the number that's thrown around, actually most of them that I hear, I can believe any of them, right? Be it 70, 80, 90% of their GDP for Phuket is based on, you know, tourism, and specifically foreign tourism. And of course, that's the precise, the majority of the income, obviously, for this place comes from foreign tourists. And now many people have also said, well, look, you know, this time of year, it's not necessarily, and that's like a resort all the way up there. Now, so here's an interesting thing, right? And so this place here, Sunset Beach Club, obviously completely deserted. And let me see if I can zoom in and show you, like in the distance there, right? There's a pool. Now there's still water in it, but obviously this whole place is completely like closed and boarded up. And I can't help but wonder, like, especially if any of you have been here before, like in the comments, if you guys have been to Sunset Beach Club here in Haad Rin, right, when you've been down at the full moon party potentially, or you've been in this area, whether that place was closed for a while anyway, or whether it's just, no, that's only recent. Sunset Beach Villas are what's here off to my left, and they're really, really awesome looking. Clean, new, air conditioning, obviously hot water. I'm sure there's Wi-Fi. But anyway, what I was saying, so I'm sure that like 80 to 90% of this place survives on foreign tourism. Because I don't think, you know, it's a Thai pastime by any means to go to a full moon party. In fact, it would be very interesting to hear from, you know, some Thais that are in their like 20s and potentially 30s, you know, whether they or any of their friends ever consider, well, hey, maybe we should go to that full moon party and check out what goes on down there. But, you know, I mean, potentially that's kind of like, Mike, you lived in San Diego. How many times did you go to SeaWorld? You know, and it's like, well, let's see. Once with Gracie about 2 years ago, and then before that, about a decade before that is when I went. So, you know, if it's in your own backyard, that's one thing. The other thing is if it's not something that you like normally do. Like normally, again, this is very stereotypical of me. You know, I'm not being 100% accurate. Let me just say that I'm being more stereotypical. To see, you know, young, sort of 20-something Thais, you know, sitting at the beach with their friends. There's a bucket of ice. There's a bottle of it's called like Tong Som or something like this, whiskey, and sparkling water, and they'll mix those things, and they'll just sit there all night and like talk. That seems to be kind of like a really common thing. Much like, you know, in the U.S., basically, it's like, well, what'd you do with your buddies this weekend? Oh, we went out drinking, you know, or we went out and grabbed a few beers. We went to a place, we shot some pool, you know. I mean, it's sort of the similar thing. And then Haad Rin Beach there on the right. I had been down there before. But again, I'm driving by places, and yeah, there's a lot of them sort of like look completely closed up. Talk up. But by the same token, it's like there's more than 6 months worth of sort of accumulated, dirt kind of thing, or at least it appears that way. My point being is that, some of those doom and gloom videos that you might see from, or might have seen a year ago from some expats trying to get, click-throughs, right? Because bad news is obviously what sells. Now the downside is, like, I'm not a guy that like eats really a whole lot. I have, 3-in-1 type of coffee for breakfast, and then I pretty much like drink water or Coke Zero, or something. If you can see there up on the right, there's another radio station here. But I couldn't find the studios for that. The other one, the studios basically, or at least the studio building was right next to it, but it was completely empty and abandoned. So I assume that they're either off the air or they're simply only on the air during like high season, or they microwave it out. And because, as you might guess, I don't travel with an FM radio, right? So I don't know if they're on the air or not. Now I think I may be able to do a FM radio app on my phone to see if they're on. So I might do that on the way back. But anyway, so this is sort of Haad Rin, and this is the main road coming in. And you'll see a few cars. Like if I look off to the left there at that resort, for the most part, it seems like it's guys that are like doing repairs, that are like doing some work. You know what's interesting is, I'm sure if you've been to Thailand, you've seen this before. It's usually just the women, but they will have like, basically like dried white powder that's on their face. And I know that there's some degree of practical reason, like, oh yeah, it keeps them cool. That's like, I guess, 10% of it. And then, 20 to 30% of it is some degree of, Buddhist thing, or religion, or, I don't know. I know that there's multiple reasons they do it. But I've seen a lot more that do it here than I saw on Samui. And I don't know what that means or not. Now, you see this backhoe up here that's like swinging around quite a bit? Now, the good news is that there's a motorbike coming the other way, but he's absolutely not looking behind him. So I want to make sure that he does not swing that thing to the right and send me sailing into the woods. Now, I'm on a dirt road right now, but there's not like significantly more bumping. I mean, there was a lot more bumping back there in the pier, right, with the rocks. My point is that the road work that they're doing, they're getting real. I mean, you can see that they've like, obviously filled in the side, and they're doing some, widening of this thing. But it's such hard pack. They're getting real close to getting ready to concrete over this thing. So anyway, again, if you've seen this, if you've gone down this road before, the next time you come here, likely the next time you come to Koh Phangan, and meaning that you basically are going to come for a full moon party. I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at. I love those motorbikes with the 2 wheels in the front, dude. I just think that they're so cool. I bet I could rent one, but I just have never tried. So, or I've never seen one for rent, perhaps. Now, I know this is going to be crazy bumpy. This may or may not make it to the final video, but I figured, well, I'll just strap it on here, and you'll also see a whole bunch of places down here have their own generators. Even though the power lines that come in here, you probably can't see that, but basically at the top of these power lines, that's quite a quality install, actually. The 3-phase power that they have here. And they only have the 3 wires, so basically it's a delta. If you know anything about 3-phase power, it's either Y or delta, and with only 3, that's delta. And then Y, spelled W-Y-E, that basically is like there's a dot in the center, and then there's 3 sort of lines coming out from it, all at 120 degrees out of phase, and that's how you get 3-phase. But if you only see 3 wires up there, cool, then that's delta, because basically it's a triangle. So anyway, I'm in absolutely no hurry, so these guys can like take as much time as they want, which is like totally cool. And yeah, no problem. I'm in no hurry. That truck has moved out of the way several times, actually, and he moved out of the way when I came down here. And so I'm not sure whether he like moves out of the way, lets people pass, and then he backs up, and then that backhoe up there like fills him in. But I'll wait till this car goes by, and then I'll shoot through really quick. I'll come back up. And obviously this is significantly bumpy. But it also probably gives you an idea of like, you know, what I'm going over. The good news is that even though it rained significantly 2 nights ago, it did not rain last night. And so about 30% of my day today was planned based on the fact that it didn't rain yesterday. But I basically just got lucky just then. I hadn't actually planned on coming down this far, and I didn't know the road was under construction, so having the dry dirt was definitely a benefit. As you're driving down here, again, if you've never been here before, as you're driving down here, you see a ton, like literally is one resort after another. Because, you know, again, off to the left is the beach, right? And so there's tons and tons and tons of resorts, tons of places to stay. And of course, every single one of them has literally no people. And many of them have no staff. Now, I went down this super steep hill that was like right off to the left, like a lot of these places, recently, and just talked to this woman. Her name is Knock, and I'll put a picture of her business card. Oh, I'm really glad I'm doing this because Rike will really appreciate that. So here are some monkeys that are probably expecting me to give them some food. Yeah, I saw those guys when I was coming down here, so that was kind of cool. That's the other thing I love about Thailand. I should just do a Why Thailand video from the Why Thailand video series. I should just do it on the fact that, like, dude, there's monkeys. That's why Thailand. Anyway, so I was down there, and you know, the resort was effectively open, and the woman who basically is the owner / general manager, I talked to her and I said, well, can you make me some coffee? And she goes, well, no, not really. I mean, I can make you black coffee, which means she can heat water and do instant. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. I said, well, do you have like, can I just like buy a water from you or a Diet Coke or something like that? So I noticed that she had a soda in there, so I bought that for her. And, you know, I intentionally gave her 100 baht, but of course I give her 100 baht. She stands up and she's like, okay, well, this is only 10 baht. And I'm like, what? So that's cheaper than I can buy it at 7-Eleven. I said, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Take the 100 baht. She's a really nice lady. I talked to her for a while. She actually lived in Germany for a while. I had a German ex-husband now. Anyway, so up here on the left, this is the radio station, where it says the Tom Young Kung restaurant. And they've got the guide tower in the back. And then off to the left here, you probably can see maybe on the glass, bangrockradio.com, BANGRAK radio.com. Oh, hey, puppy. And so Bangrock is one of the cities in Samui where they have a pier, and so anyway, I assume that antenna will clear. I mean, you know, it's 360-degree radiation effectively, but potentially they call it Bangrock Radio because maybe they have the antenna over here, and maybe the studios are in Bangrock. I don't know, but I am going to take a ferry over to Bangrock. Or I'm going to take a ferry actually over to Naton Pier. I'm going to go there because I know the lady that rents motorbikes there, or at least, I mean, there's motorbike rentals everywhere, but the woman that rented me a motorbike on Samui, she was really cool, and she's right there at the pier, and it was incredibly reasonably priced. And so I figured, well, I'll go back to Naton Pier and I'll just go to my rental lady who's, you know, I already know her, and rent my motorbike from there, and then I'm only going to spend the day over there, but I'll end up on the other side of the island, and Bangrock Pier and Bangrock, that area, is effectively where that antenna is pointing. If you were to look off the coast right from there, then you would end up looking like right at It's kind of cool actually. The locals, right? They'll like beep as they're like coming up over a hill when there's a curve into the hill. Pretty much the only people that don't drive well here are foreigners, honestly. And you know, honestly, I think you could probably say that with most drivers in Thailand. I drive ridiculously cautiously over here, infinitely more cautiously than I ever did, certainly in California. I also never drove a motorbike in California because, of course, in California, to get anywhere, certainly Southern California, but I'm going to go with all of California. You've got to have a car. You cannot. Public transportation is a full day commitment to get like 20 kilometers. Yeah, I've experienced poor drivers over here, and their skin is white. Let's just say that. Off to the left there, a very steep hill, which of course I realized from the last video that I shot, you really can't tell the steepness from going down it, so I wasn't going to go down there. Like this just kind of looks like a road, but this is probably like a 20% grade. I get the brakes cranked on pretty much. If I had to, I could stop the bike completely, but I'm applying a significant amount of pressure, let's just say that. I haven't been all over Phangan, but I will tell you that so far, the road down to Haad Rin has had the steepest hills overall. Anyway, so I go down to this resort, and the Thai woman is there, and she was the one that I was speaking about, that had lived in Germany, and her German ex-husband, and that sort of thing. Anyway, so she was sharing with me. She's like, yeah, so I've been over here, and it's really tough, and it's like nobody's making any money, and I'm like, okay, well, I get it. And she's like, my restaurant's not open, because of course I got there, and I'm like, well, it's the middle of the day, maybe I'll just order some rice from this lady, right? Restaurant's not open, she can't even make me coffee, but she's sitting there, and there are all of her staff, like, it looked like about, I want to say 7 or 8 people. They were all sitting in one of those like, it's kind of like a palapa, but it's made out of bamboo, and there's like 2 kind of bench seats on each side. Pretty common in this part of the world. You'll like rent one of those for the day, and you'll hang out at the beach. There's a table in the middle. There's usually electricity there. You can charge your phone, and you go there with like, your friends and family. Bring food or order food, and just sit there at the beach under the shade. And anyway, her hall, they had like 3 of those there, and 2 of them were completely filled with her staff, just like laying down, like because they got nothing to do. And she's got like 7 bungalows right there on the beach. So I'm like, hey, do you mind if I walk over there and take a look? She's like, no. Well, the first 3 were air conditioned, and they were like more concrete, and then the remaining 4 were basically excuse me, I think some of that dust from the street dislodged in my throat. And then the remaining 4 were basically the kind of the Nipa hut sort of deals where they have a fan inside, the infamous fan room, right? But very Thai style. It's got like a porch, and it's got a hammock, which is pretty awesome. It did have screens in the window, which I was thrilled about. And I'm like, well, I might stay here. So then I walk back, and I'm like, all right, well, those 4 don't have air conditioning, right? And I said, well, at the risk of being high maintenance, like how much, the other one, number 9, that's got air conditioning, right? She said, yeah. I said, all right, cool. Well, so how much is it? She's like, well, like, I don't even really know. And I'm thinking, what? She's like, what are you paying for your other bungalow? I said, well, I'm over at Wang Sai, and, it's pretty big, and the whole resort's open. Like, I can get food, I can do everything. And it's 700 baht a night. And she's like, okay, well, she goes, yeah, I don't even know what I charge. She goes, the restaurant's not open or whatever. I said, that's no big deal. I said, it's Thailand. I can go out in the street and get food less than a kilometer away. I'm not worried about it. There's 7-Elevens that are open on my way here. I'm good with it. But unfortunately, she simply, like, literally would not even quote me a price on anything. She seemed more, and I can understand this. I can totally empathize with it. She seemed more interested in speaking with me and complaining to me about how horrible everything was versus saying, okay, well, yeah, like, look, dude, I mean, for God's sake, I began the relationship by giving her 100 baht for an 18 baht Coke. So, I mean, she could have led with, well, how about 1,000 baht? And again, based on like what's going on right now, I probably would have been like, okay, yeah, that's fine, or I'll give you 900 or whatever. But I wouldn't have like lowballed her and give them, no, only 200 baht. So I don't know. I don't know whether she figured that it's just not worth it, for me to be there like one night on the beach, but I was like, all right. So, but my point is, I find that odd because she's actually like sitting there like literally all day, right? Anyway, so this road, basically what I'm going to do from here on in is I'm going to drive all the way back to Thang Sala, and this road has really nothing special. All I wanted to do is show you guys what's going on down there in Haad Rin. And with that, I'm going to pull over here, and I'm going to dismount the camera, and then I'm going to head back. I'm probably going to grab some food. Maybe by now the night market will be open, and I can grab some food there. So there you go. And so with that, it's Mike's and the Big Blue Shark from LiveMyAssOut.com saying, I hope you're living the dream. Because if you're not living the dream, then there's a high likelihood that you've potentially never been to Haad Rin when there weren't a ton of people there, potentially inebriated, hanging out at the beach, and you actually had to share that beach with somebody else. At least probably, you know, several hundred people, even if it was during the day. So I hope you're living the dream, and I will talk to you guys soon. Ciao.